Hello, welcome back to Knowledge Mining Platform. Now we are going to start with Lab 4, Use Custom Skills with Azure Search using Azure Functions in VS Code. In this lab, we are going to work with the environment created in the previous lab. We are going to still use the Azure Search created, the index, indexer, the data source we already have from our Azure Search. Also the cognitive services, the skill sets that are already included from the containers, the data coming from the containers. Now we focus on Azure Functions to consume Bing. So we need to create our Bing service. It is going to be consumed from Azure Functions first, just to send a request. Later, that request, that search value will come from the data we search in our Azure Cognitive Search. So, to work with this lab, to continue, we need to complete the lab 3, use text and image skills with Azure Search. We need Postman, VS Code 2017 or later. I'm going to use 2019, and work with the Azure Function Core Tools. We need to have the Azure Function Core Tools. First, I'm going to start in the portal to create the Bing service. I'm already in the resource group created from previous labs. I'll go to create a resource. Search for Bing Search version 7. And go to create. Provide the name. I'm going to keep the same syntaxes and a hyphen. This will be my Bing service. Subscription. Pressing here we can work with the free tier. The free tier that allows us 3 calls per second and up to 1K calls per month. Resource group, I'm going to work with the same resource group from previous labs and confirm that we understand this notate from Microsoft. Once we are ready, we can go to create a resource. This is going to redirect to the deployment blade where we can check the progress, and after it's deployed, I need to get the key and one of the keys and the endpoint. So go to the resource. Under resource management, there are the keys and endpoint. I will record one of the keys. I copy and paste in a notepad because we are going to use it later. Alright, so now I have the Bing search service. Next, I'll move to my VS Code. First, we need to install the extension. So I click on extensions. I already have it, but I'll show you how and where we can go to get it. Search for the Azure Function. So that is the extension I want to get. Here it is, Azure Functions. I already have it. So you need to go, install, restart VS Code. So feel free to pause the video, and when you're ready, come back, and we'll discover that there is a new section for Azure. So we come to this new section and check there is the connection for the subscription if we already signed in. Under the Explorer, make sure you are located in the path where you want to create your function. In my case, I'm already in this path, in the AC function. So I come back to Azure, and now I'll go to create a new project. When I click on create a new project, it's going to take me through the steps to create the project itself, the Azure function, and one function within this. So I click on new project. First, need to select the path where I want to work. So I keep working where I'm located in this moment. Then select the language we want to use for this project. I'll work with C#. After that, we need to provide the template. This will be an HTTP trigger function. And then the name of the function. I will call it custom domain search. Hit enter and provide the namespace. This is going to be company search. Well, should change the name of company, but I'll keep as company.search. Hit enter, and then since this is an HTTP trigger, it's asking me for the access rights. I'll keep it with anonymous. And now it's creating my new project and the new function within that project. I'm going to pause the video, and when it's ready, we'll start it again. It is ready. So now we can see there is one function, the custom domain, with a sample code. I don't need this sample code, so I'm going to remove it. But we'll start adding the namespace system collections. I'm going to work with the system collections generic. Also, I need the namespace system.net, and also working with the system text. These are the 3 extra namespaces I need to work with this function. After the class, before the run method, I will add the constant to connect to the Ving service. So this is going to be a static read-only string URI base. Now I'll go and paste the value that I recorded before from the Bing service. But to go for the search, specifically the search, the web search can be entity search, news, image for the web search, I need to specify the version, so it's version 7, and version 7, and the search endpoint. So that will be the whole base URI. I'll go for a second, also a static read-only string, and this is for the access key. So same thing, go for the key recorded before and paste it here. Now I'll add a structure. This is going to be the search result. This structure is for the search result that contains a public string, the JSON result, and a dictionary, also a public dictionary of strings. This is going to be the relevant headers. Right. So now I have my search structure, I have the URI base and the access key to connect to my Ving service and to get the response from that service. Now I can work with the run with the custom domain search function. First, working with the logs. So I go for log and add a log information. This is the Microsoft Bing search function using C#, using HTTP trigger, and this is my function processed a request. So just an information of what I'm doing within this function. Next, get from the HTTP request, we are going to get a query. So we are going to accept the search query. This will be my data query. From the request, I go for the query. And specifically, I'm going to wait for the search query or the search parameter. And ask if this data query is null. If it is null, from now I want to return a new VAT request. So that will be a new VAT request. New VAT request of your result, and just sending a message, pass a search query in the query string. If it is a null, now I want to return an action result, creating a new OK object result. And for this object result, sending the JSON pretty print. This is a method I'll create in a moment. And this method is JSON receive the search result. The search result is going to be gotten from another method, the Bing search. And what we are going to search? What we sent in the data query. So from the Bing search, I want to convert this as a JSON result. There it is. So I go first for the Bing search, where I send the data query, what we send in the request, convert to JSON result, and call the JSON pretty print. Basically, it's doing that, printing in a JSON format, and this will be our response for this method. So I go first for the Bing search. This is going to be a private static that returns a search result, my Bing search, and accepts a string, the search query. First, I need to get the whole URI query. I already have the base, but I need to concatenate with the parameter. So create the URI query and provide the URI base, concatenate, adding the parameter q equals, and I want to concatenate with the the search query. So I create a escape data string and send the search query. So I have my URI base and the query itself. I want to search within, escape, within my Bing. And now create the request. This is a web request. So I go for a web request and create it, where I need to send the URI query. Also for this request, we'll add the header, where I'm going to send the access key. This header is the OCP, is using API management. So OCP hyphen API m hyphen subscription hyphen key. And just send the access key. So this will be my request. Now I go for the response. This will be an HTTP web response. So I indicate it's going to be an HTTP web response. From the request, go and call the get response asynchronous. And from there, get the result. Using this response, I will get the response stream So I will create a new stream reader and sending to my JSON, string JSON. So go for a new stream reader, and that response will be get the response string and read it to the end. Perfect, so now we have the response, send it or convert it with using the stream reader to our JSON, a string JSON. I created before the search result. Here is where we are going to send this response, the JSON result and the relevant headers. So create a new instance of the search result. Create a new instance of the search result where I'm going to provide the JSON result, will be the JSON, and also I'm going to provide the relevant headers that will be just sending the new dictionary empty. So now I have the new instance of the search result struct. For these headers from the response, I'm going to include to the relevant headers only when there is Vim APIs or XMS Edge. To do that, I'll work with a for each, indicating every header, which is a string. Every item will be my header from the response headers. And what I mentioned, if the header starts with Vim APIs or XMS Edge, so if it starts with Vim APIs or the header starts with XMS Edge hyphen, in these two options, or with these two headers with the start with, I'm going to add it to the search result instance created before. So I go for the relevant headers, specify the header, and assign from the response, from the headers, the specific header that starts with any of these two options, Vim API or XMS Edge. Once we have the JSON and the relevant headers, I can just go and return the search result. And now I have my Bing search. For the JSON pretty, what I'm going to do is copy and paste the piece of code, because basically just doing that. Converting into JSON or sending a good print of JSON. So this is not quite relevant for the request we are sending. So you can just explore what it's doing within the content is receiving the string. That's why when we are calling this JSON pretty, we are converting to a JSON result. I'm going to save, Ctrl S or file, and then we have the option to save this function and the methods within the function. Now, to test it locally, I just press F5. We can see it starts running the function. If this is the first time you are running the function, it's going to ask you to allow the access. So allow the access, click on allow access if it pops up, and wait for the function to run. The function is our custom domain search. Once we get the function URL, we are going to copy and start working with Postman to send the request. We are going to send a post to search into our Vim search. So for now, I'm going to pause the video and start when the function starts. My function is running now. Here is the endpoint, the URL. We have a get and post as it is in the definition. Now I will go to Postman. I already opened a new tab for the request. Paste this URL and add the parameter that is expecting the search parameter. I want to search Azure. will change the method for post. So I want to do a post for this function using the search, sending the search query parameter, and click on send. Now we have the 200 OK, and in this moment we are searching in all Bing. So we can see from Bing.com all the detail. It's even some of them are in Spanish, some in English. So we can check all the output. Actually, we can even see the size that returned. We don't have any filter. Well, the only filter is to search wherever it finds Azure. Example, one of those is Wikipedia, Microsoft, API being Microsoft. So it's open for any endpoint that is finding from Bing. So far we configured our Bing. Now let's modify the search to customize to only search in the Microsoft sites. To do that, I go back to VS Code and disconnect my function. There it is, it's disconnected. Let me close this. I am back to the function, and what I'm going to do is modify my code to only search in Microsoft.com sites. I'm going to modify this line where I'm calling the Bing search method. I'm sending the data query and want to concatenate with this condition. The condition will be site Microsoft.com. I go again to save it, and that will be all the condition. I can test it again. Again, we need to wait until the function is running, and once it's running, go back to the Postman to send the request. Again, I'm going to pause the video and start when my function is running. There it is. It is running again. It's the same URL. I already have it in Postman. So what I can do is send again my request. And now you can even see the size. Before was 35 something, now it's 12, because it's only searching in the Microsoft site. Actually, this is the original query. Search Azure only in Microsoft site, and we can search that is only getting the result from the Microsoft.com site. Perfect. So we finished our part. We customize. We can customize more options. For now, we just keep it for the site. We can go for images, news, videos, or something specific that you want to have. But for now, we'll be like going to our own domain and not the whole World Wide Web. Now, let's publish the function. To publish the function, we need to be located within the Azure menu. On the top, we have the icon to deploy function app. Click on it. Select the subscription where you want to publish this function. Select the function if you already have one. Or sign in. If it's asking you, you need to sign in. In my case, I'll go to create a new function app in Azure. We need to provide a globally unique name for this function. This will be the Anna-function Bing. This will be the name of my function, or probably custom domain search. Well, we can decide the name, but make sure it's unique. That's why normally I add my name at the beginning or at the end. And we hit enter. Also, we need to select the region where we want to deploy. In this case, I'm going to use South Central US because it's the same one I have my resource. Can be other region, but well, for this lab, I'll go for South Central US. And once I select it, what it's doing, creating the storage account linked to my Azure function, also deploying the Azure function, and finally publishing this code into my Azure function. So what I'm going to do now is to pause the video and start again when the function, the storage account are deployed and my code is published to the function. Ready. My function is deployed and published. I can check the output. Actually, I can show you the whole output. Now, I'm going to test my function deployed in Azure. Well, I already have it open here. It created a new resource group with the same name as the function. This will be the Anna function being. Within this resource group, there is the new function with the storage account using the app service plan, enabled the application insights, by default creating all this. So I access to my function. It is a consumption, a serverless. Go to the functions under the function section. And I already have my custom domain search. It's an HTTP trigger and it is enabled. I can access. Actually, let me close this blade. This message. Since I deploy the function using VS Code, so I have locally managing the code, or could be using our source control, this is a read only. So we can just test it, but we are not going to be able to see the code. Now I'm in the function blade and go to the code and test under developer section. We can see, we only see the JSON, the settings for this specific function, but we don't have access to the code itself. That will be in our source control, or in this case, locally in my VS Code. But what I'm going to do is get the function URL and use this function URL to send a request from Postman. So I'm going to open another tab, paste the value, the name of my function, API, and then the name of the specific function. Also, this is going to be a post, and also need to add the query that is expecting the search. This time I'm going to search for Microsoft. And once I'm ready, click on send. There it is. Now I have my output from the Microsoft side. This is what I created within the Azure function. I have my result from Bing. Great. Now the integration with the output with the result of Azure Search will be from the output of Azure Search. I want to search in the Microsoft.com domain using Bing, calling this function. To do that, I'm going to open the lab from the path from the lab tree, the project created in lab tree. I already have opened the path. I'm in the Azure Search Knowledge. This is the API, and the Azure Search Knowledge console. This is the console application, the project created in lab 3. I'll go to work directly in the console application in the program file within the program class. And first add the namespaces in order to call my function. So this will be 3 namespaces. The system threading tasks. I want to work asynchronously. Also, the system net HTTP and the system link queue. These are the 3 new namespaces I want to include to call my function, and based on the output of the Azure Search result, we'll call the function to search using Bing. Now, under the class before the main method, we'll include a constant for the HTTP client. This is going to be a private. This is going to be a private static read-only from HTTP client. I'm missing one T. HTTP client. This is going to be the client and initialized in this moment. Okay. Also, I'm going to add a constant, the function URL. Also a private static. Also a private static read-only string. This is going to be my function URL. And let me go for the URL. That also we can get from the portal. So the name of my function .azurewebsite.net/API/ the name of my function custom domain search. That will be the path that we have, the URL we have. Okay, now let me close this. Now we'll add another method, the search organization in Bing. This is going to be a static asynchronous method. As mentioned, search organization in Bing or using Bing, where we need to send the search result of the type document model created, all this created in the lab 3. So we need to send the result from the Azure Search. First, create the content. This is the form URL encoded content. Where I'm going to send a new dictionary of strings. That will be the content we have for now. And what I'm going to do is just print in the console this value. So I go and add a console write line. I want to send what I want to get, the metadata storage name. Also, this was created in previous labs. The fields from my Azure Search. And here get from the result we get when we search, when we go for the Azure Search, the documents. So from the result document, I want to get the metadata storage name. Also, I'm going to add a new one. I want to print the organization. So as well from the result document, but now the field will be organizations, and will work only with the first organization. This is just because it's a demo, it's a lab, a simple lab, so I don't want to go through all the organizations or maybe create a process to specify which organization. So we are going to work only with the first one. Okay. So I want to search from this file the first organization that is printing. Now I go to create the response and call it asynchronous using the client object created, the global client object. Create a post asynchronous request where I need to send the function URL, and as we know, as we saw in Postman, we need to provide the search parameter. This search parameter will be from the result document, and as mentioned, I want to search the organizations and specifically the first one. I want to search only the first organization, and also need to send the content, the dictionary that for now will be empty. So that will be everything we send for the post, and for the response we'll just read as a string. So I'll create a new response string and use my response. I will work asynchronous. Use the response, specifically the content, and read as a string, asynchronous. And finally, just print that result. Just print the output from the Bing result. There is my string. Okay, I'm going to save the file for now with Ctrl S or file and go to save. Now I'll modify the main method in order to interact with the new method created. So I already have the Azure Cognitive Search. I'm calling the API. This was from previous lab. So what I'm going to do is call the search queries. That will be search queries. I remember the search queries, and want to search for CEO. No, actually for Microsoft. Also, I'm going to call the new method search in Bing and send this result. Also from the results, only the first one, so we don't get a lot of information, just to make it simple. Let me just confirm the name of the method. Yeah, search query. Search queries. What is doing? What we're going to do now? Search Microsoft using the analyzer from the Azure Cognitive Search. Search Microsoft within the index. Once we get the result only from the first result, search the first organization that is finding using Bing, using the Azure Function. So that will be the whole process we create. I save it again, and I can go and test my console application that is calling that the Cognitive Search, the Azure Search, and the function. Now let me access to the Azure Search Knowledge Console. First, I go to build to make sure everything is fine. I'm missing a comma. Let me check where. I see at the end of this line. Let me try again. Perfect. Now I see all my code is, well, it builds. I can go and test it. I can go and run it. first access to the console path, and then run. Something simple, just send the name and the organization. But I see it didn't return the response, so it just got the response from Azure Cognitive Search, not from Azure Function, and I see why. I just have I changed the parameter, what will be a typo. So let me run it again. But now we see it's going to search for the Microsoft organization, that basically is the first organization it found. Probably in my next search I can go and find the CEO and see which one is the next organization. So let me make this bigger. And now it's going only in the Microsoft endpoint, searching for Microsoft organization. Let me stop it. I go, for example, now and search for the CEO. Again, it's just searching the first result, the first organization, just not to have several information now. And make a simple search in Bing. So I'm running it again. Now we are going to check what is the first organization. That will be the board. It was too fast here, the board. So now it's going to search for the board in the Microsoft site. Okay, well, with this we finish our lab. What we did is using the services we already had and our API we already had, integrated Azure Function to consume the Bing service and call it from our console application. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have time to follow the next labs.